Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, a name whispered with reverence and hope in many corners of the Catholic world, has always been a quiet force for change. His gentle demeanor belies a steely resolve, a commitment to reshaping the Church from within. He operates within the vast and ancient structure of the Catholic Church. From his early days as a bishop in the Philippines, a nation deeply rooted in its Catholic faith, he was known for prioritizing the lived realities of his flock, understanding their struggles and empathizing with their joys over abstract doctrine, those lofty theological concepts that often seem detached from the everyday lives of ordinary people. He believed faith should be a source of comfort and guidance, not a burden of complex rules. Tagle championed cultural sensitivity in evangelization, recognizing that the message of the gospel could be best received when presented in a way that respected and affirmed local traditions, greater lay involvement, empowering ordinary Catholics to take an active role in the life of the Church, and a Church that listens more than it lectures, a Church that is attentive to the needs and concerns of its members, offering guidance and support rather than simply issuing pronouncements. He highlighted the plight of migrants, those displaced and vulnerable individuals seeking a better life, and the poor, those marginalized and forgotten members of society, framing their suffering as a theological crisis, a challenge to the very heart of Christian belief and practice. The Church must address with urgency and compassion. In debates over communion for the divorced and remarried, a deeply sensitive and divisive issue, Tagle emphasized mercy, recognizing the complexities of human relationships and the need for understanding and forgiveness and individual conscience, acknowledging the importance of personal discernment in making difficult moral decisions. He never directly challenged doctrine, understanding the importance of tradition and continuity, but consistently reinterpreted it through compassion, finding ways to apply ancient teachings to contemporary challenges with a spirit of empathy and understanding. Progressives saw him as a beacon of hope, a sign that the Church could evolve and adapt to the changing needs of the world. Traditionalists as a threat to orthodoxy, fearing that his emphasis on compassion and individual conscience would undermine the authority of the Church and dilute its teachings. His appointment as prefect, a significant promotion within the Vatican hierarchy, of the Congregation for the Evangelization of Peoples, a powerful position overseeing the Church's missionary activities around the globe, placed him at the heart of the Church's global mission, giving him a platform to influence the direction of evangelization efforts worldwide. Tagle worked within existing structures, understanding the complexities of the Vatican bureaucracy and the need for strategic maneuvering, quietly redesigning the institution, subtly shifting its priorities and approaches from the inside out, fostering a culture of dialogue, compassion, and service. Few could have predicted, even those who knew him well, the revolutionary blueprint he was about to unveil, a bold vision for the future of the Church that would challenge long-held assumptions and spark both admiration and controversy. To truly grasp the magnitude of Cardinal Tagle's recent move, a move that has sent ripples throughout the Catholic world, one must first understand the formidable doctrinal wall he's confronting, a wall built on centuries of tradition and unwavering belief. This isn't just a simple disagreement, it's a challenge to the very foundation of established doctrine. That wall is known as Ordinatio Sacerdotalis. This apostolic letter, a document of immense significance, was issued by Pope John Paul II in 1994, during a time of considerable debate on the role of women in the Church. With unwavering conviction, this apostolic letter declared that the Church simply has no authority whatsoever to ordain women as priests. The document's language is absolute and unequivocal, leaving little room for interpretation or dissent. It's a firm and decisive statement. It was intended to end the debate on women's ordination once and for all, to put the matter to rest permanently. It roots its reasoning deeply in the historical precedent of Christ's deliberate choice of only male apostles, framing this historical selection not as a matter of social convention, but as a permanent and unchangeable act of divine will, a decision ordained from above. The priest, it argues, must act in persona Christi Capitis, in the person of Christ the head, thus requiring a male presence to fully embody this sacred role. In issuing this decree, Pope John Paul II invoked the full weight of his papal authority, leaving no doubt as to the seriousness of the matter. He was demanding that this teaching be definitively held by all the faithful, a non-negotiable point of doctrine for every Catholic around the world. Therefore, to challenge Ordinatio Sacerdotalis is to directly oppose the magisterium's claim to possess and safeguard the truth. For nearly 3 decades now, Ordinatio Sacerdotalis has effectively silenced any official debate on the matter within the Church's formal structures. It has also marginalized countless advocates who believe passionately in the possibility and the justice of female ordination. Over time, it became the ultimate boundary, the line in the sand that could not be crossed. It became the dividing line, separating orthodox teaching firmly from what was deemed a radical departure from tradition. To challenge Ordinatio Sacerdotalis, therefore, is to challenge the very authority of the papacy itself, an act of profound consequence. On July 15, 2025, Tagle shattered the silence with his book, Vocata, a Theology of Called Women. Released without warning, Vocata is a direct, comprehensive argument for ordaining women as deacons and priests. Tagle's thesis, the Holy Spirit's call, is not bound by gender. He presents historical evidence of female leaders in the early Church, arguing their exclusion was cultural, not divine. Tagle re-examines in persona Christi, asserting the priest represents Christ through humanity, not maleness. Denying women ordination, he writes, wounds the Church's understanding of human dignity. Vocata frames the issue as one of justice and fidelity to the gospel. Tagle argues the Church cannot credibly preach equality while denying it internally. The book is a passionate plea to listen to the Spirit's call for a more authentic discipleship. Cardinal Tagle's challenge to the established order is absolute, a line drawn in the sand. It represents a fundamental disagreement, a chasm that seems impossible to bridge. This isn't a mere suggestion or a gentle nudge. It's a full-throated declaration of dissent. Vocata is not a call for dialogue, for polite discussion or nuanced compromise. It's not an invitation to the table for a friendly exchange of ideas, but a declaration, a firm and unwavering assertion that current doctrine is fundamentally wrong and must be overturned. It's a bold statement, delivered with the force of a hammer blow. He bypassed Vatican channels, ignoring the established protocols and procedures. Instead, he took his case directly to the people, appealing to the masses, seeking to sway public opinion and generate support for his cause. In doing so, he is creating a public crisis of authority, directly challenging the Vatican's power and legitimacy in the eyes of the world. Tagle asserts Ordinatio Sacerdotalis, the doctrine barring women from the priesthood, is not merely a matter of tradition or preference, but a theological error. He believes that this error must be corrected, rectified, for the sake of the Church's soul, for its very survival and spiritual health. There is no middle ground, no room for compromise or negotiation. The choice is stark. Either accept women's ordination, embracing a new vision for the Church, or reaffirm the current teaching, clinging to tradition and maintaining the status quo. He demands full inclusion in holy orders, complete and equal participation in all aspects of the priesthood, not incremental change, not a gradual easing of restrictions, but a fundamental and immediate transformation. Every Catholic must now pick a side. The time for fence-sitting is over. Ambiguity is gone. The lines have been clearly drawn. Tagle's move is a direct confrontation with papal authority, a bold challenge to the Pope's leadership and decision-making. It also questions the continuity of magisterial teaching, the unbroken chain of doctrine passed down through the centuries. He argues a pope can bind the Church to error, that even the highest authority can be fallible and lead the faithful astray. This strikes at Catholic ecclesiology's core, challenging the very foundations of the Church's understanding of itself. The debate is now about doctrinal truth, about what the Church truly believes and what it is willing to stand for. It's also about the limits of papal power, about how far the Pope's authority extends and what constraints it faces. Retreat is impossible. There's no turning back now. This is a battle for the soul of the Church, a conflict with profound implications for both Tagle and the Vatican. The issue is now an urgent, unavoidable crisis, a storm gathering on the horizon that cannot be ignored. It is demanding a definitive response, a clear and decisive answer that will shape the future of the Catholic Church. The publication of Vocata sent shockwaves through the global Church, splitting it along deep fault lines. Progressives hailed Tagle as a hero, organizing reading groups and calling for open study of his work. Reform-minded Catholics see this as a watershed moment for justice and inclusion. Tagle's actions have energized a base that had grown weary. Traditionalists, however, see Vocata as heresy and a betrayal of sacred tradition. Conservative cardinals have called for Tagle's resignation and censure. Networks of conservative laity have mobilized, branding Tagle an agent of schism. In Africa and Eastern Europe, bishops reaffirm loyalty to established teaching, expressing shock and dismay. The Church is now a house fiercely divided, with Tagle at the storm's epicenter. The crisis has overwhelmed all other church matters. For Pope Francis, Tagle's bombshell is the gravest crisis of his pontificate. He is caught between the progressive movement Tagle unleashed and the immovable object of tradition. Francis's personal relationship with Tagle complicates matters. He elevated Tagle to power, now facing what feels like betrayal. If Francis condemns Tagle, he alienates progressives. If he does not, he risks schism from conservatives. Pressure from conservative bishops for swift condemnation is immense. The Pope must now choose between his vision of a synodal church and his duty as guardian of doctrine. Tagle has pushed the Church's internal tensions past their breaking point. Any decision will define Francis's papacy and likely trigger an exodus from one side or the other. The shepherd now faces a flock threatening to tear itself apart. Why did Tagle, known for gentleness and loyalty, take such a divisive step? For many, Vocata is the culmination of his pastoral concern for the marginalized and his belief in radical gospel inclusivity. Perhaps he saw only a dramatic gesture could break institutional paralysis. Tagle may believe his duty to God and the people, especially women, outweighs obedience to a doctrine he sees as human-made. Yet Tagle is also considered papabile, a leading candidate for the next pope. By authoring Vocata, he's positioned himself as the leader of the Church's progressive wing. His move could be a calculated risk to capture the papacy and enact his vision. For Tagle, conscience and strategy may be inseparable in his bid to save the Church. Tagle's challenge has brought the Church to the edge of a precipice not seen for centuries. The divisions between progressives and traditionalists, north and south, have erupted into a potential schism. Episcopal conferences are at odds. Parishes and friendships are fracturing. The laity are caught in the middle, forced to choose between inclusion and tradition. The centre cannot hold. The Church must now decide what it is. Tagle's act has forced a choice that cannot be deferred. The Church faces a crossroads, unchanging tradition or a living, evolving faith. The path chosen could lead to the most significant split since the Reformation. Whatever the outcome, condemnation, schism or reconciliation, Tagle has secured his legacy. He has forced the Church to confront its deepest internal conflict. Female ordination is now the central question, shaping the next pontificate and the Church's future. If Tagle fails, he becomes a martyr for reformers. If he prevails, he is hailed as a great reformer. His book, Vocata, will inspire generations, whether as a sacred text for dissenters or the foundation of a new ecclesiology. The Church may preserve unity at the cost of credibility or renew itself through inclusion. As of July 21, 2025, the future remains unwritten. The Church stands at a moment of peril and possibility. Tagle's act has set a drama in motion whose end is unknown. One thing is certain, the age of quiet consensus is over. The age of Tagle has begun. Please subscribe to our channel History Documentary Hub for more insightful videos and intriguing content.